Once you have added sites to your profile, you'll want to report your site visits. To report a single site visit, after logging on to the My Data page, scroll to your My Sites box. Let's start by looking at your solitary sites. You'll see that there's a column entitled Add Visit in the table of sites that you have listed. Corresponding to each site in that table is a plus sign to add a visit. Once you've found the site that you'd like, simply click the plus sign for the site that you'd like to add a visit for. This takes you to the Report Site Visit page. The first thing you'll notice on this page is the site name is listed, in addition to the site is displayed on the Google map to the right. The first piece of information that you must enter for the site visit is the observers. Since you are entering the site visit, automatically the first observer is yourself. You may choose up to 2 other observers from the Shorebird database. It is important to note that anybody that you select from this list will be able to edit the observation that you enter into the database. Because of this, you may want to be careful in who you choose from this list. You also can enter in a number of observers and the names of those observers that were associated with your data. This is a good option to use for people who should not be editing your data or for people who are not registered with the Florida Shorebird database. The next step is to choose the date on which your observation occurred. By simply clicking the calendar icon, you can bring up a calendar to select the date. Once you've selected the date, you must select the start time for your observation. Simply select from the drop-down list the hour at which your observation occurred. Next, you must indicate whether the site was posted. If the site was posted with signs only, select that option, but if there were signs and rope, make sure to indicate that signs and rope were posted at the site. After you've indicated if the site is posted, you should indicate the status of the site. There are 5 nest status options for solitary nesters: active, pre-nesting only, nesting completed, abandoned, and unknown. Each of these 5 fields corresponds with fields on the datasheet, so carefully choose the correct field. When you select a nest status, the species count table will change according to your selection. By selecting active, you will now see that nesting behavior and adults is enabled in the species count table. For solitary active nests, there are 3 options for nesting behavior: nest observed, brooding/incubating, broken wing display, or territorial behavior. If you choose nest observed, you must also indicate if you saw any eggs or if you saw any chicks in the nest. It is important to note that you should only count chicks when they are in the nest bowl. Otherwise, you should use the roving chick form to record your observations. For active solitary sites, you must also indicate the number of adults that you saw. Next, there are a number of optional fields which you are asked to complete. The first category is disturbance. Disturbance is defined as something that caused the birds to flush, and only things that have caused the birds to flush should be recorded in this category. If something caused the birds to flush during your site visit, you should select the appropriate checkbox, Caused Birds to Flush, and then select what it was that disturbed the birds and caused them to flush. The next category is tracks. Tracks should only be recorded within 30 feet of the nest site. If tracks were observed, select the Tracks Observed box and then indicate what types of tracks were observed at the site. For tracks and disturbances, it is important to also record negative data. In other words, record that there were no tracks present or that no flushing was observed. If that is the case, for tracks, select No Tracks Observed to record in the database that you looked for tracks but none were observed. You also have the option to enter in the number of leashed dogs and number of unleashed dogs within 300 feet of the nest site. If you didn't see any, simply enter 0 and 0 for your observation. Next, you're asked if beach raking is present at the nest site. This is within 300 feet. If it was, simply select yes. If not, no. The final field is wet rack. If there was wet rack within 300 feet of the nest site, you want to indicate yes. If not, no. If you select yes, you're then asked how much wet rack was at the nest site. Was it abundant or was it sparse? Please make sure to consult the nesting bird protocol to make sure that you fully understand the meaning of all these fields. Once you have entered in all your data, you optionally can enter in comments about your nest site visit. For instance, if there were things that you observed that you'd like to make a note of, or if there was something odd going on the nest site, you can enter that here. Once you've completed your observation, simply hit the Submit button. You'll see that your site visit has now been recorded. A summary of your site visit occurs in the white box here, and if you click, you'll see more details about your site visit. Once you've completed this, you have the option to enter another visit for this site, or enter visits for other sites, or return to your data. Let's return to your data. Scrolling down to your My Sites box on your My Data page, you will see that your My Last Visit value has been updated based on your new data entry. Let's now take a look at adding a visit for a colonial site. Just like your colonial sites, select the plus sign corresponding to the site that you would like to enter data for on your colonial table. Just like solitary sites, you'll see the first thing listed is your colony name. Also, on the map to the right, you'll see the colony and its footprint outlined. For colonial sites, you have the option to update colony footprints. You can do this by selecting the button below the map on the right. Selecting this button brings up a pop-up window where you can outline a new colony footprint. Again, there are two options to do this. The first option is to use the map to capture your clicks and outline the colony. The second option is if you have GPS coordinates to enter these in manually and outline the colony footprint that way. Let's outline a new colony footprint by just clicking on the map. Just like before, you can drag your icons around to refine the location of your colony footprint. Once you are satisfied with the colony footprint, scroll to the bottom and simply hit Submit. You'll notice that when the page loads again, you have your new colony footprint outlined in the map. If you realize that you've made an error or you'd like to refine this location, simply click the button again and you will see that it's already populated with the colony footprint that you had outlined earlier. You can refine the location of your colony footprint and then come back down to the bottom and hit Submit again. Again, the first thing that you must do in recording a site visit is indicate the observers. Make sure to be careful in who you choose from this drop-down list, as they may edit your data. The next thing is enter in the date that your observation occurred. Simply select it from the calendar, or alternatively you may just enter it into the text box here. Select your start time from the drop-down list and indicate if the site was posted or not. Make sure to indicate if rope was used or if only signs were present. For colonial sites, there are also 5 types of nest status: active, pre-nesting only, nesting completed, abandoned, and unknown. For active colonial nests, you must also indicate if there were partial colony losses. If there were, please make sure to select from the drop-down list to the right what were the causes of the partial colony loss. Species counts for colonial nests are slightly different than those for solitary nests. The first thing that you must do is select from the drop-down list the type of species that you observed at the colony. If you saw more than one species, don't worry, you'll be able to enter in multiple rows. After you've selected the species, you must indicate what type of count you performed for nests. There are 5 types of counts: direct, estimated, present, absence, and no count. Please make sure to read the protocol to ensure that you select the correct type of count. If you select direct count or estimated count, you are then asked to enter in the number of nests that you observed. You are next asked to enter in the type of count that you performed for chicks/young. Again, you have 5 options. It is important to note that if you select present, you are then asked to indicate what types of chicks or young were present. Also, you'll see that no count is an option for nests, chicks and young, and adults. It is important to select no count when you do not perform an account. For chicks and young, if you choose direct or estimate, you'll be asked to enter in numbers as well. You also additionally have the option to select no count from the drop-down list. Use this when you are unable to complete a count of a specific category. You can also enter in the number 0 for the number of your count. What this means is that you did not see any flight-capable juveniles. This is really important to the Shorebird database because it captures negative data. It captures the fact that there were no flight-capable juveniles present. Please make sure to enter 0 when you counted but there was nothing present. This negative data is very important for data analysis. Lastly, you must enter in the number of adults that you observed. This is optional but highly encouraged if you have the number. If you saw more than one species at the colony, you can simply click Add a Row to add rows to your counts. To continue the next row, select another species and continue through the table and enter in the types of counts that you performed and the numbers that you counted. The optional fields for colonies are the same as those for solitary sites. Please make sure to indicate if you observed any disturbances, tracks, dogs, beach raking, or ret rack. All of these fields are very important for the data analysis. Once you've completed your data entry, simply hit Submit. Again, you will see that there is a brief summary of what you've just entered, and by clicking on this, it shows you more information about your site visit. Let's return to your My Data page. For the colonial site that you just selected, you'll see that your My Last Visit value has been updated for that site. Please make sure to enter your site visits in a timely manner, as this will improve the overall value of the Florida Shorebird database.